I pushed the button.
And we are
Do you see
live.
it?
We're live. We're
Does it
live.
say it? I don't see it.
Yeah,
Do you see it?
we're live. We are
Oh,
live.
okay. Welcome, welcome everyone to another Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. I am Greta Russo, but please, Dr. Bryant, introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thanks for joining. I'm Dr. Nelva Bryant. I'm a veterinarian and I work in the airline industry. I work with Delta Airlines and I've been on staff with them since 2018. Brought on to help review and revise the policies of animal transportation. And within that role, I've started identifying some needs for pet owners as far as traveling with their pets, and just a lot of needs that way. And just started sharing information or on preparing pets, more of a pet-centric method of just sharing information to ensure all animals are prepared for air travel, basically. And being a veterinarian with my background and various things I've done, I've kind of put a spin on that to assist with focusing on pets during transport. And with that, I needed a platform basically to share information. So I started When Pets Fly. It's been 5 years now, and started out initially small, just a Facebook group. And I think now we've grown a year past, and I added Greta on, and we do Facebook group and Facebook page. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. We have a website. Website is whenpets.com. And we do these Facebook Lives to share information with basically I'm sharing information with, in my mind, these are different stakeholders in the animal transportation industry that touch on different sectors that's important for traveling with pets or even service animals too. And today we're going to have someone to talk about service animals. So that's what I've been doing these past few years. I'm excited about it. And I love how we've grown and our following is growing too. So please like, share, and just the information we're providing to you is not, you won't get anywhere else. So please like and share to support us. Greta, please introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Greta Russo. I have been working with Dr. Bryant for several years now in helping to get the messages out in regards to animals in transportation, especially during flight and all over the world. So it's been a great journey. We've been learning so much, we've been teaching so much, and we've really impacted. I couldn't believe how much we've grown, where, it just, first we were going maybe along the eastern border is where a lot of our followers were. Then we went across the United States picking up followers. And now we can proudly say we're worldwide. So it definitely has been growing. And there's so much great information to share with everyone and to learn from so many people.
Oh, yes,
so, well, this is travel season. We are, I want to say, at the beginning of travel season with animals. And it actually is a time where we all can learn. And there's been a lot of definite things that have been popping up on social media and in the news. But first, I wanted to just say that with the warm weather, with probably summer's the worst time to travel with any pet, to be honest with you. But with the warm weather, I just want to remind everybody that, you cannot leave any animals in a car. Whether you leave the air conditioner or not, the car heats up so much. And also, your pet that is left behind can get dehydrated, and there's so many health issues that can happen. But so it's not worth leaving your animals in the car for even 5 minutes. But I want to say that, I think the most dangerous thing is that your dog can die in there. And I don't think anybody ever wants that. So you got two choices in the summertime: leave your pet at home or bring your pet with you into wherever you're going. But just don't leave them in the car. As you can see with the diagram, just 10 minutes, your vehicle can get up to 89 degrees. And, unless you've sat in an enclosed car with no air conditioning and no, no windows open, that's pretty intense. And not to mention if they have any health issues, this kind of situation can exacerbate it. So you just, for the kindness of your animal, just don't do it. Dr. Bryant, when you were practicing as a veterinarian, have you seen animals have complications from the heat?
Yeah, it definitely happens. And it can happen really, really quickly. I'll be honest, I didn't see many as far as in clinical practice because I think it's kind of common knowledge and people know, but there's still situations that it does happen. So we've got to keep saying this story over and over again. Be honest with you, I've seen more of the situations on the tail end where I have seen situations where on the tail end where they're actually in, the heat stroke can lead to death. I've seen kind of situations like that quite often in the past. So you don't want it to happen. It can happen quickly. Them not, it's too hot. No ventilation, no water, and they can quickly succumb to heat stroke and lead to death. So you don't want that to happen with your pet. So don't ever take that chance with them. If you want to have your pet along with you during, you're running errands and everything, see if you can bring them inside. If you can't, you can bring them inside wherever you're going to, or if not, let them stay home in the air conditioning until you get back. They'll be perfectly fine. But subjecting them to this for a few moments is not worth the risk, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of stores that actually let you bring the animal into the store with you. So it's always good to call them and see, hey, do you mind if my dog comes in with me or my cat? And I also wanted to point out, so nobody is surprised, the Good Samaritan law is a nationwide law. Now, each state allows different things to be listed under the Good Samaritan law. So it also is a part of other things. But in regards to pets left in cars, strangers, if they see your animal is in distress, they have the right to break your windows so that air can get in there, and also call the police. So, I just want to put out there that people are allowed to do this, so you don't get freaked out that you come back and your windows are smashed in. Someone is trying to save your pet's life, and it falls under the Good Samaritan law. So just so that you don't go through that heartache of broken windows, try to remember not to leave your pet in the car so that no one has to come and save them. And I believe in some states, if the police are called out, they will, when you come back to the car, I think you will be issued a fine or something like that. But you would have to check on that in your state. Also, I wanted to bring up, for people who follow us on Instagram in particular, Instagram or even Facebook, this past week, no, it was a week ago, there was an issue that came up, and actually it was recorded. So a young man who has a service dog, and this issue came up perfectly since our guest is about service dogs, but the Uber driver did not want to let this person get in her car with a service dog. So I want to just point out two things. So number one, if we all know that Uber does allow animals in the car. However, there are two different aspects to the rule. Number one, if it is a service dog, whether it's Uber or anywhere else, it is always allowed because it is the law. A service dog is always allowed. And service drivers cannot ask the person directly, what is your disability? But I want to let you know, service dogs are allowed. And two, if it's just a regular pet or even an emotional pet, the driver has the right to say no. So everyone remember, if you have a service dog, it is always allowed. If you have a regular pet or an emotional pet, the driver has the right to say no. Now, Uber does state that it would make things a lot easier if you have a service dog to go through their app to schedule a ride, indicating you have a service dog. And if you go back to our May 27th post, which has this whole thing, I've clearly written out all the steps in how to do that, and even what the Uber driver can and cannot say. So it's a nice, healthy, robust post written out with all the things you need to know. Please go check out our May 27th post to let you know what type of animal can go into the Uber car and what can happen.
This is a great conversation to segue into everything we're doing, because if we don't continue making this statement and saying it often, people forget that pets and, well, emotional support dogs, they call it ESANSU, but emotional support animals are not considered service animals. There's a difference. Yeah. One is for a person that has a disability that's recognized by the ADA, American Disabilities Act. So they have something that's recognized. So it's a recognized disability. So you can have a service dog or a service animal for that. For your emotional support animal or pet, / I say pet because that's what they really are, there's no recognition by the ADA for them. So that's you just saying, I need my dog with me for whatever reasons you feel that you need your dog with you. But that's not recognized by the ADA, so it's not the same. So the more we need to say this over and over again, because there's so many people that will fraudulently say they'll say my dog's a service dog in those instances when they're not. So I understand it's hard it's hard for people to, say in businesses to say, is it valid? Is it true? In the airline industry, let's see, was it 2021? I believe it was a December timeframe of 2021. They made the ruling where only service dogs are allowed to go in cabin, and they removed the ability for emotional support animals to be in cabin, which was a long time coming and really needed, because having your personal pet, say emotional support animal present, can interfere with someone who really needs a service dog with them. So I'm glad they made that ruling. But again, we have to say it over and over again, because you don't know. Many times people say, well, my dog's is emotional support. And like, well, that's not allowed for in cabin. And then of course they'll switch to service, but it's like, you can't just say that. Let's let the people that truly need the service animal have the service animal, and not have that relationship be disrupted by a personal pet, available, that's maybe jolly go happy, not being, not listening to the pet owner, eliminating when they shouldn't, and all these crazy things that they'll do. Let's let people that truly need the service animal or service dog with them for travel purposes or whatever, let them have what they need, So, but yeah, I'm so happy we're having this conversation today, because it's definitely something we need to say more and more. And maybe we need to have Blake come back more than just more frequently to share this information. No?
Absolutely. To help get the information out there, because there's just so much people don't know in regards to service dogs and their handlers. And, there's not a lot of places putting the information out there for the general public to understand. So I think we definitely should pick that up. And then I wanted to mention one last thing before we bring Blake in, but also this past week, I wanted to share, wrong one. Hold on, let's see. What are we doing? I apologize. I thought I was doing so good with doing managing. There we go. Okay, so this past week, you may all have seen and heard that Governor DeSantis in Florida has made it a law that it is a felony to leave your pet behind and chained or bound to something during a hurricane. Now, you would think that this would be common sense, but last year during Hurricane Milton, there was this horrible scene where, if you can remember this dog right here, his name was Trooper. He was chained to this fence as the hurricane was coming along. Luckily, he was saved and adopted, and he's with a new family. And Governor DeSantis, a year later, made it a law that it is a felony, and the punishment is up to 5 years in jail plus a $10,000 fine. I could not be happier, but I bring this up again because it points out how important it is that you have to be prepared for emergencies. And have your evacuation planned out, have your emergency kit prepared, not only for yourself, but your animals. And, for states like Florida, where hurricanes or natural disasters come like clockwork, this should be a no-brainer. You should be prepared. You should know to be prepared. It should be second nature. So we actually had a great conversation with a veterinarian, Dr. Mader, yes, on Facebook Live. We did with him on March 14th of this year, 2025, and he's from Florida, and he lays out step by step how to plan and how to evacuate with any animal you may have. He gives so many great tips on what to do if you live in Florida. Please, if you are a Florida pet parent, go to our Facebook Live recordings, look up March the 14th, 2025, with our conversation with Dr. Mader, and learn what he says to help get you and your pet out of Florida before the hurricane comes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm glad he enforced that, but I mean, to me, it would be common sense would tell you, I mean, give your pet, if you can't evacuate with them, have them with you in this, give them a chance. I mean, you chain them to a fence where there's potential flooding. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Give your pet a chance, but main thing, if you have a pet, be the responsible pet owner and prepare for disasters. If again, for your pet and for yourself, if you have to evacuate, bring your pet along with you and plan accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you would think it's common sense for a lot of these things, but, the way that I approach things is that you assume that nothing is common sense, and you have to teach everything, especially with, as we go on in time, there's new pet parents coming along, especially this new generation. I don't even know what they call it. I think we're past the millennials, or are they the millennials now? I don't know. But, everybody has to be taught, and right. we get, so it's up to us to keep repeating these things.
We do. The more we say that, hopefully it become common knowledge, and you won't have a second guess or even wonder. It's just, my hope for everything that I do here, as far as information we share, is that we share it enough where it's like secondhand knowledge. You know exactly what to do in a situation. In a disaster, this is what I have to do to take care of, make sure I'm prepared for my pet. If I'm traveling with a service dog, all these things, just common knowledge. So that's the hope of repeating things. And that's actually, to be honest with you, folks might wonder, why do we have repeat guests? Because the information needs to be repeated. We can't just say it once and call it in. We have to say this over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. Until it's second nature.
Yep.
Well, you know what? It is almost 20 after, and we still have to bring in our guests.
I know.
You and I could have a Facebook Live by ourselves, but let's bring our guest in. Let's see.
Hey.
Push add.
Yep, she's here. Hey,
hi, Blake. So sorry.
You're good.
So sorry. Let us introduce you, give you your proper introduction, and then we will roll right into our conversation so that everybody gets to know who you are. So everyone, please, we are welcoming today's guest, who is Blake Woody, a seasoned dog trainer and the founder of Certify Canine, an organization redefining what it means to certify working dogs in the real world. With over 15 years of experience training domestic and exotic animals, Blake has worked with hundreds of dog handlers teams, specializing in service, therapy, and facility dog readiness. Her approach is rooted in real world integration, not just obedience, but building trust that holds under pressure. After recovering from a traumatic brain injury, Blake experienced firsthand the life saving impact of a well trained service dog. That moment sparked a mission to raise the bar across the industry. Through Certified Canine, she's created a national certification and insurance-backed process that supports working dogs and their handlers every step of the way. Today, we're diving into what makes a truly reliable working dog, why certification matters, and how Blake is helping reshape the standards of dog-human teams everywhere. Everyone, please help me welcome Blake Woody. Welcome, Blake.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Well, we'll jump right in, like
So,
we said.
Blake.
I was gonna say we segue in because Blake, honestly, there's a lot. Offline, I spoke a little bit about service dogs with you and some things that people do with pretending they have service animals. Won't go into detail regarding it, but I think this is a timely conversation, to be honest with you. Just we need to hear this over and over again as a reminder. What's a true service dog? What it entails, and it's really important that folks understand that you can't just don't say fake as a fake or be fraudulent and say, oh, I have a service dog when it's not, because you really are impacting people that truly need a service dog when you do that by doing so. So it's really important for folks to understand what truly is a service dog, and maybe you can go into how do you get one, and really do it legitimately is the main thing there too. And earlier we talked offline, didn't realize you can even have insurance for service dogs, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Nice, thank you. So to kind of get started, a service dog is a dog that does task-based skills that help a person with a disability. It mitigates a disability. And it's such a wide range of what is a task, what is a disability, that, most everyone thinks a seeing eye dog, or they think a dog that can smell. You see a lot of diabetes dogs, especially with social media. But it's a lot of the invisible disabilities, ones that don't seemingly like you look fine, but really there's something going on inside that the dog can help with. And they give that additional support because dogs are incredibly intuitive with our body, with our routines. And ultimately, it's one of the reasons why we all love pets and dogs is that they love us. They have that unconditional love. And then they also can be persistent when we're not trying to listen to them. And with someone with a disability, that can be like, hey, you need help. Here I am. I smell this. Here you are. And it helps you live your life more fluidly and more get back into the world. You have confidence to get back into the world. To answer your question about how to get a service dog, it's the Wild West in dog training. I like to tell everyone. There's generally two formats that you can get a service dog. You can get one through a foundation, so usually a nonprofit or a small organization that either breeds or trains service dogs for specific tasks. So you'll see organizations that specifically do, veterans, PTSD, you'll see autism out there. You'll also see the diabetic dogs. There's the typical, guide dogs, mobility dogs as well. But usually they're an organization, nonprofit, that's their whole focus with their dogs. What's not really known in the public is that you can actually have an owner trained service dog. So you can have a dog yourself and go through the process either individually or with a trainer or with an organization and have your own dog become and step into that role and do those requirements or expectations that within the service dog industry and the service dog, trainer world, we all have a collective agreement of what it should look like. that you can get your dog up to that. And here's the big thing that where we stepped in and created Certify Canine is that by federal and state law, there is no technical registry. There's not a federal registry of, hey, here's my service dog, I'm getting my license. Some states will ask you to be part of a registry, but even then there's a lot of question with HIPAA law and ADA of like, is that actually legal because you're declaring a disability? There's a lot of question marks. And so it's really been a lot of the nonprofits and trainers who've tried to step up and say, hey, we'll manage this industry ourselves. But there's a lot of infighting and there's a lot of question marks of what is actually allowed. So our goal with Certify Canine is creating the standard and how we certify and what we look for in those dogs. And what we look for is public access manners. So how does the dog behave in public? And we look for neutrality, we look for engagement, and we look that they can handle the stresses of being in our very unpredictable human world. And then we also want to make sure that they are task-based trained. We want to make sure that the dog does help the person. Now, I will be the first person to tell you that having a dog just in your household is going to help you. It's going to help your health benefits. It's going to help you sleep better. Your stress is going to be a lot lower. Even if that dog runs the house and is crazy, you're still going to have those benefits. But that's not a service dog. A service dog does things specifically for the disability that an individual may have.
Yeah. Perfect. Love it.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to dive right in and ask you if you can share the origin of your company and what inspired you to launch it and what gap are you trying to fill?
So I was a dog trainer. I actually worked in zoos and aquariums as an educator and trainer. And then they're like, hey, go train dogs because you'll get more experience. Because I was a young 20-something going, I can do this. And I got in a car accident and I had a traumatic brain injury. And one of my own personal dogs did it on his own, was starting to alert about 15 minutes before I would need to take a medication to help me not have so much pain and essentially like a really intense migraine. And when I realized he was alerting before this happened, I would be able to take medication and bypass the intensity or longevity of that migraine. And I went, oh, I didn't know you could do this. Now, this little dude was a Pomeranian mix, and he was fearful of the world, but he was really well trained. But he smelled it. He'd wake me up in the middle of the night. When I'd come home, he'd start bugging me, and it helped me be able to, not have pain, be able to work through my recovery a lot faster. That's what started what is service dogs? Like, how do I get into this? How do I get them registered? What do I do for this part? Now, I've been an animal trainer, but service dogs, it's, you think of the big organizations, the seeing eye dog organizations, but no one tells you, hey, your dog can be migraine trained. So that's how I started doing just a ton of research. And there's not a lot out there. Now, the other part of this is that I've worked with a couple therapy dog organizations or child welfare agencies that utilize therapy dogs. And there's organizations that do therapy dog certifications. They test your dog to make sure that they can actually go in and be loved on by kids or in hospitals and things along those lines. And how I found that they work is that they cover you in insurance. So you're saying, yep, my dog can do all of these 10 things. And then they go, cool, here's an insurance card. So now you can go have protection and liability for your dog to go into the space. But there is nothing like that for service dogs. Nothing. And so I started calling insurance agencies going, hey, is this something that you'd be interested in? Is this something that you offer? And most people said, put your dog on your homeowner's insurance or put your dog on your property liability insurance. And I didn't want to do that. Because if something were to happen, then it's my house, it's my home. I felt like my dog should have its own standalone coverage. And it took about 12 years to finally find someone that said, hey, I think I can do that. And all that time I was training animals and working with people. And when I finally had someone that said yes, it took us another 2.5 years to talk to their legal team and their underwriting team to get approval. And it really was a lot of education and showing that these dogs that are trained and can pass public access truly we're reducing the risk of them being in public, because the expectations we are requiring of not only the handler, but also the dog, the likelihood of a bite or a mishap is so low. And that's where we got the approval. And we launched last year in 2024.
Well, congratulations. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
You would think, though, having your pet on your homeowners insurance
Yeah.
when it works for when they're home, but when you're out in public places, are they really covered? I mean, you
No.
can have it, but you're not covered.
Not really. And some insurances or some situations it can be denied because again, they weren't at home. So there's a lot of legality. And they also say that service dogs are higher risk because they're in public more often. So they'll even deny it. So if you have your pet as a service animal and you have health insurance, some pet health insurances will actually deny your health insurance claim because your pet was in a more hazardous environment, which is unfortunate.
So Blake, I got a question. So, okay, I get that your company certifies service dogs, and that's twofold. It's to say, yes, this is an authentic service dog, and they are helping with these things. And number two, with your certification, you're able to take that and go get an insurance. So my next question is, or my question is, does your company provide the insurance, or can you tell us what insurance company that you recommend to use your certification to cover the dog and handler?
Great question. So no, we are not an insurance company. And we have to be very clear with that because insurance law is really strict. We are not an insurance company. The best way to describe us is that we are a qualifier company for that insurance company. So anyone that passed through our qualifications, we do a direct handshake with an insurance company called Prime. They're a small insurance agency that does animal liability. And we have a negotiation with them where they will write the service dogs their own individual policy. So we actually don't take apart or touch that individual's insurance plan. They own it. They are part of it. Now we require certifications and recertifications to make sure the dog is not only healthy, but also that they are maintaining the expectations. And we can tell Prime, hey, either this client is good to go every time it's time to recertify, or they haven't passed their certification. They're at a higher liability. And then they maintain a low level of like property insurance, but that service dog specific one, they would lose. Because again, we have to make sure that there's accountability on all parties. So our partner right now is Prime Insurance.
So Prime as in Prime?
That's correct.
Very interesting because I would imagine
And what is the
service dogs have to be certified so often. I mean, how often? Actually, I guess it would depend on the animal and their activities and what they're doing. But how often do you think they need to be certified that they are still able to provide that service?
After a dog has been approved, we personally require after that first year, because a lot of times what will happen is people will like get ready for the test, they'll pass the test, and then the actual practicality of following through with it that first year. So first 12 months that they have to recertify. And then after that, it's every 2 years, because if they've maintained the expectations, they've gotten a good groove, they've gotten the routine down. And we can tell pretty quickly if a client actually follows through with it or if they're missing something. And that's a kind of a standard across, whether it's a nonprofit that does service dogs or even therapy dogs. Usually it's within a year to 2 years and just keeps going. The other part of it too is service dogs really only have a short window of where they're active or healthy enough to be active. Unfortunately, dogs live much shorter lives than we do. And so we don't certify a dog until they're at least a year. A year is the absolute earliest that we'll certify. Most dogs are really ready at 1.5 to 2 years. So you might have, if you're lucky, 5 years of, or more, maybe if you can squeak it out and it's a smaller dog, you can, 5 years is about as long as a service dog really is quote unquote working and available to work.
Interesting.
So a certified dog, if I understood, you're saying that a certified dog is only working for 5 years?
Estimate. It's the average. Because when you look at it, so if a dog certifies at 1.5 years, they get there, you're ready to go at 1.5 years. If you add 5 years on that, so you're looking at a 6.5-year-old dog, if I did my math right, If it's a bigger dog, so Great Danes unfortunately live to 5 to 8 years. There might be having hip mobility issues. They might have arthritis. They might be having harder times with that. Bigger dogs have a much shorter time span. If you're looking at a golden or a lab, again, we have to look at the hips and arthritis. We have to make sure that the dog's temperament is still doing well. Some service dogs get tired. They get burnt out. There's dogs that I know that are active till they're 10 or 11. Like I have an Airedale Terrier that is 11. She just turned 11 and she's in perfect health. She is phenomenal with her parents, but that's not the norm usually for service dogs. But parents are also making sure that they're taking care of her and they're doing a beautiful job of handling her. So ideally you have longer, but the average is between 5 to 6 years of an active service dog.
That really amazes me, because I thought once you would get the dog certified, that would last their whole life.
Mm-mm. It really shouldn't.
But from what you're saying, no.
Yeah. And if the dog gets attacked, a lot of times I'll see service dogs get attacked by a loose dog, or they'll have a negative experience. I've had dogs get their tails run over. I've had dogs get pulled, like people tugged on them when they shouldn't have. It can cause a lot of stress, and then the dog really can't do its duty or do the job that it's been trained for. It's too much stress for them. And so then it's okay, you might get retired early. I have a dog that was trained and is very good at what she does, but we retired her after 2 years because she wasn't showing interest in it. And again, it was too much for her.
Mm-hmm. Well, that goes into what we said a little bit earlier offline, where we're talking about the longevity of them. I guess it would depend upon the what they encounter. And that's why we're saying service dog etiquette, how you treat people that have service dogs and stuff. Coming up to them and petting you see a service animal vest on a dog, that's not your free line of saying, pet it. They're working. Realize they're working. They have a purpose, what they're doing for their owner or their handler, and let them do their job, kind of thing. So they're not your pet. They're not your pet. And people need to realize that as far as how they interact and encounter with them. So I think
a lot of times it's almost comical. Like I have to laugh at it or I would cry kind of thing, where I've been in public and working with clients or certifying them, and people will put their hands out and like brush against the dog as they walk past. Or they'll make the cute, oh, you're so cute, and distract the dog. And I get it. We think that dogs are there for us as humans, and yes, they are. But when you see that vest, it's, hey, they're doing something for their human that they're with. A therapy dog or a pet dog, go for it. But that dog that is focused, it's important to ignore them.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see, the next question that we have, what sets Certify Canine apart from other certification options? What makes your approach more reliable or necessary? Well, first of all, I didn't even know this was a thing, let alone there's more. So please explain.
So by federal law and state law, you do not need documentation, certification, or registration for a service dog. So we are not required technically by law. However, we want to help people understand what it takes to be a service dog. Most people that want a service dog will go to a foundation or an organization, and it leaves a giant gap for owner trained service dogs, or even just from an education perspective. So our certification is, there's no other organization that's doing what we're doing. The closest that's like us is the big therapy dog organizations that only specialize in therapy dog memberships. We, with our service dog capacity, really are the only ones that I've seen so far. Because we don't, whether you're a foundation trained animal or you're an owner trained animal, we take everyone. As long as your dog passes the expectations and you go through our verification process, anyone can be a part of it. And how does it make it reliable? Is we have a in-person aspect, but we also have a virtual aspect. So we can have someone in Alaska where we don't have a certifier can upload their pictures and their videos, and we have guidelines of how to do it, and we can certify them in the state of Alaska or Hawaii or middle of nowhere Idaho. Not saying that Idaho is remote, but it could be quite literally anywhere. Because of how we educate and how we break everything down.
No, very good.
There's a lot. Hold on. You're sharing so much great information, and this is so brand new. I'm imagining for most people, but I'm hoping that people with service dogs will find this enlightening, and I'm hoping that this will help them because I don't know if people with service dogs are told, up front, how when you have a baby, you have the nurses give you the with the thing to take the baby home with, and they give you some tips. I'm hoping when people get their service dogs, at least something like this is mentioned. But it's just, I'm just blown away by all of this. But what sets Certified Canine apart from other did I already? Oh, never mind. So let me push the next one.
Yeah, we talked about
There's a lot of confusion around what actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, stress that again, please, because we talked about it again. The initial people thought emotional support was the same as service. Now they understand it's not the same, but please reiterate that again, please.
So if we look at traditional, what's covered by ADA law, there is police canines. We all know, we've all seen a police canine in some capacity, or the TSA canines. Those dogs have some permissions to be in public. They're usually trained for a specific handler and for a specific task. So they can go into airports and hospitals and businesses because they're doing a job that has been approved by the state law, essentially. Facility dogs, which you may see in ADA guidelines, those are dogs that are specifically trained to love and provide comfort and support in certain areas. So facility and therapy dogs are kind of the same thing. I like to joke that therapy dogs they love on everyone else, and facility dogs are times 10, but in a specific building. So a facility dog you most often see is in child hospitals. You'll see them in children's hospitals. You'll see, oh, we have a facility dog, and they'll come and see the kids and make smiles. Facility dogs are usually owned by an employee of that organization. But again, they have permission to be in one space, one or two spaces. They don't have permission to go in grocery stores or to fly. They are very targeted. This is what you're allowed to do. Emotional support came out in, early 2000s, where people were like, well, my emotional support dog helps me, because what they wanted to say is, it's not a service dog. It's not your traditional guide dog, but it's helping me emotionally. And I think there's a lot of emotional support dogs that 100% do help their people. But what most emotional support dog handlers don't realize is that if they're helping you emotionally, that's going to go in the realm of mental health and psychiatric care. So maybe your dog actually is a psychiatric dog, but you have to work with a psychiatrist to say, hey, is this a disability? Not saying everyone has to have a DSM-5 diagnosis of, depression or anxiety or anything like that. But I've had a lot of people come to me just as a dog trainer who are struggling to be out in public or struggling with anxiety. And I'm like, go see a therapist, have a conversation with a therapist. And if they think that your dog can help you, then hey, that's an actual service dog. Now we need to train your dog to behave in public and to help you, to task-based help you. So emotional support is one of the things I think is well-meaning, but people have taken it so far. You give an inch, you take a mile. They've taken it so far, they think, oh, it's fine. No, your dog still has to behave in public. It's kind of like driving in a car. You can't just willy-nilly go wherever you want. You have to follow the rules of the road. And then service dogs have ADA permission. They're the only category of working dog that is allowed to go anywhere where a human can go. The only caveat is within like a working kitchen. And even then they have to make modifications to where the dog can still be there, but in appropriate gear and appropriate space. I don't know if anyone's seen on social media, like college students graduating with science degrees and their dogs are like goggles and a vest and like little booties. They can have PPE just as like their human has to have it. So we have to make accommodations, reasonable accommodations. So service dogs are the only animals that are allowed to be anywhere essentially. But again, they have to be calm and manageable in public, and they have to be doing that task for their human.
Right. It makes me think of something. I remember when I was in practice, I was doing a vaccine clinic one weekend, and drove up to the place, and I saw this woman get out of her car with a service dog. Dog had a service dog vest on and everything. And the way it was set up was a vaccine clinic. Everyone had to wait in line. So by the time it started, I'm at the table giving vaccines. And by the time that person came up to me, with her dog. She's saying it's a service dog, but the dog was trying to bite me.
Yep.
I was like, wait a minute. This cannot be a true service dog because they wouldn't be trying to bite me,
Yep.
but oh, this is her service dog. And then in my head, I was saying, she's saying it's her service or emotional support dog, but that dog had issues. Basically, he was not. I don't know. It was in the environment, of course. It was a lot of dogs around and everything, and it's understandable to be stressed, but it's trying to bite, which is not your average service dog.
Yeah. What most people don't realize too is that their dog may be doing tasks for them. They may be doing tasks that help them. But the other component of service dog behavior is that they have to be well-mannered and well-trained in public. I like to say it's neutrality. They have to have neutrality in public. I know some of my team, some of my dogs, there's certain environments that they'll tolerate, but they're not thrilled with. So it's okay. How do you manage that with them? Can they be able to be a good citizen in that capacity?
Right. And that's the only way as far as traveling by air. If they were to show aggression, then they would be denied, and people have to understand that. So there's more to it than you just saying and putting a vest on your pet and saying it's my service dog. They have to behave a certain way. And if they're not behaving appropriately, they can be denied, and you have to understand that. So
everyone knows, you'll see people go, oh, that's a real service dog, or oh, I see that. Everyone knows. And I've had people come to me and go, I put a vest on, but he's not official, and I feel guilty. And I'm like, why do you feel guilty? Like, is it because you know that you haven't done your due diligence? Okay, well, let's go do the due diligence. Like, it's not that difficult. Let's go do it. That's the component. Like, our biggest feature is educating the public that dogs can be integrated into our society much easier, but you have to, it's kind of like a car. You have to take responsibility for this animal that you are working with.
Responsible pet ownership.
Is it mandatory?
No, I'm not a mandatory.
Is it mandatory?
No.
Yeah.
No. And that's
not you. Is it?
Sorry.
Is it mandatory to have a vest that indicates service dog, or can you go without?
Dogs don't need identification. They don't need paperwork. They don't need anything like that. One of the biggest things they'll have is a client will just take their dog that is a service dog somewhere with them, and people are like, where's his vest? Where's your certification? Where's your letter? And they're like, there's no such thing. But we as humans have to have those identifiers. So most teams will throw a vest on their dog because it just takes care of all those questions and answers. But it's not required, not by law.
Here we go. Some people are skeptical about certification. What do you say to folks who think it's unnecessary or gatekeeping?
Have some empathy. Like, truly and honestly, in the dog trainer community, in most service-based industries, there's that, there's always a low-level joke of like, what do two trainers agree upon that the third trainer is doing it wrong? And I mean, that could be any service-based industry. You have to have empathy for not only your fellow human, but also it's, you talked about common sense earlier. It's how do you be a good human in our communities? So how do you be a good dog handler in our communities? The more that we educate people, we're only going to get better. And acknowledging, especially in the dog training world, it's very diverse on methods and tools and how are you actually training your dog? What is a good enough dog? There was a controversy in Disneyland where someone came in, a big social media trainer came in with a service dog and then did bite work in the middle of Disneyland. That's inappropriate. That's 100% inappropriate. Now, in him, he's like, oh, I got such good control of my dog. Look what I can do. But a lot of service dog trainers go, hey, that's counterintuitive of what we're trying to promote and advocate for. Your dog should not be doing bite work when it should be just focusing on its handler and having neutrality. Your dog shouldn't be a liability in that capacity. So it's skeptical because you're being judged. Like, most people are terrified of doing it because, oh, my dog's not good enough or I'm not good enough. And really what it is just going, hey, it's just a standard to agree upon. There's wiggle room, but there's a standard that you need to do. You're not going to go pantsless at the restaurant. you know, the shirt, shoes, and pants. Like it's kind of like that. There's some rules of engagement within our community, and our service dogs need to have the same.
Right. Set the standard.
Yep.
There's a lot. There's a lot of dog trainers out there, and I was wondering, is there a certain certification or education or something that makes dog trainers stand out, or, oh, that person is the best because I guess there's so, like, when I look on social media, sometimes I see backyard trainers.
Yep.
And where they might be good, I don't know if I want to get a dog trained by them, or does it not matter about certification? What should a consumer look for when looking for a dog trainer?
Unfortunately, I don't have an easy answer. So rule of thumb is that, and I tell this with my clients, but I also tell this with trainers that I teach, is that I have met really fabulous trainers that have no certification, none whatsoever, but they are amazing at what they do. And then I've met really amazing book knowledge certified individuals, but they can't train. It's not there. And I've seen both sides of it. So certification helps. I think third-party verification is a big part of being a trainer, especially since there's no licensure. There's no standard even to become a dog trainer. There are organizations that do service dog like certifications for trainers to be a part of that organization, that they're verified. There's a lot of really great organizations, but it's one of the things I say, look at reviews, look at the individual, meet with the individual. Do their methods make sense? Do you feel comfortable with it? A lot of times trainers will say, hey, we're going to do it this way, and this is what's happening, and here you go. And most people are like, okay, I guess I don't know anything else. But if you don't feel comfortable with that trainer, go talk to a couple other people. It's a lot of research. I will tell people right away when they come to me for dog training is I might not be your trainer. If I'm not your trainer, I got 20 others that could fit you differently, because it's also, you're training the human. As much as we joke that we're training the dogs, like I'm parts like therapist almost for humans, because it's dogs become our mirrors, and they're such an important integral part of us as people that you have to understand, hey, if you tense up and you see a dog, your dog's going to go, cool, I got this, and start reactivity. They're going to start barking at that thing, or they're going to cower with you and be terrified. And really what we want to teach the dog is, one, whatever, no big deal. And then two is teaching the human, hey, you're going to be okay. So really educate, read up on the trainer, have a couple meetings. Do you like what they're doing? Do you like their education? And go from there, make educated assumptions. It's all about research.
Question for you. Is there like a national organization or international organization for trainers?
There's several. So Association of Professional Dog Trainers. There is, I'm going to butcher this, Professional Canine Association. I can send publish it later. I'm part of, which is International Animal Behavioralist Consultants. Again, I'm going to butcher these. They're IBAC. I know that acronym. There's organizations like Certify Council of Professional Dog Trainers. They do a testing. There's a lot of organizations to see, is your dog trainer verified? But again, some trainers will be part of it. Like I actually removed one of my certifications because I disagreed with the policies that were coming out on trainers. So I removed my membership because I disagreed with it. Right. And there's other organizations that it's their stance on how you train and what your methods of training are. So there's many, 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 and you can't go wrong really with looking at those. But again, do your research, meet the trainer itself.
Right. No, that's good to know, because I mean, you're gonna decide on, as far as what the trainer you use is going to be your feeling towards them. And sometimes you see things on social media, and I'm like, I don't know if I like what they're doing there. I don't know if that's, might not feel good to you, and you just go with it and everything. So
social media is an epidemic in dog trainers. It's really easy to take a treat and hide it and make a dog do something for 30 seconds.
Right.
It's Very different when you're in the middle of real life practice and seeing the dog actually do it. So social media is one of the things that I caution highly. Don't just take social media. Go see that person in person. Go see them handle your dog. How do you feel with that? Because if they can, it's really easy to do 30 seconds. You can edit 10 minutes into 30 seconds.
Right.
But doing a 20-minute or 30-minute evaluation, you will know.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, because social media makes everybody an expert, whether they are or not. And I think Dr. Bryant and I had not too long ago had a conversation about that, where, we both know this person who gives literally veterinary advice, and he's not a doctor, Blake. He's not. And like in what he feeds. And around nutrition, and we're both like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And there's another organization, for example, that created a flyer that garlic is okay. And I went to Dr. Bryant and I was like, I thought it wasn't. And she was like, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I work with a veterinarian and I had to question it, but if I didn't question it, it's all those people who are now feeding their dogs garlic because this organization said it was okay. And so, to your point, you have to do your due diligence and not just read the title line of things and assume that's the news.
Yes. And that's hard because it's decision fatigue. Our whole world is about misinformation. And so it's just take a breath, take your time, look through it, ask questions.
Look, in the GPT chat is making it really even more detailed, but you really have to do your research. Really do your research. So, I mean, it may give a valid, correct answer. Do your research still. Just do your research.
Yeah. And there's resources out there. People want service dog handlers. When I'm out there as a trainer or as my own handler, it's, I'll teach people. When I have little kids run up to my dog, I will bomb a kid in the face going, nope, we're not doing this, but let me teach you why. Because it's education. That's all it is. And most service dog handlers will tell you it's education. There are times where we're not nice. And I will admit there's been times where I'm like, nope, we're not doing this. But for the most part, we want you to understand, like, our dogs would love to get love right now, but they're working. Now's not the time.
Right. Yeah, that's it. I one time explained to somebody, it was a gentleman who didn't understand why his son couldn't pet a service dog. And I said, well, it's equivalent as if your wife just dropped in on you at your job. Do you want her to bother you while you're working? And he was like, oh. So that's when he got it. He didn't realize that the dog was actually working.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Let's see. I don't know if this is okay. Sometimes my thing is delayed, so I apologize. What's one piece of advice you'd give someone just starting their journey with a working dog, and something you wish every new handler knew?
Every new handler, I would say, is take a breath. The first time you go out with a dog, whether it's in training or it's done training, you feel like all eyes are on you. And to an extent, they kind of are. You just want to blend into the background. So take a breath. It's going to be okay. They're not looking at you as the handler. They're looking at the cute fluff ball that's next to you, which sometimes is worse. But really, it will be okay. Just keep doing what you're doing. But for someone who's starting on the journey, why do you want a dog with you? Like, truly and honestly, why do you want a dog with you? Is it because you feel like your dog, for good examples, and you see a ton on social media, there's diabetic alert dogs, especially for little kids, who help keep those kids in range and will alert parents in the middle of the night at school pickup, stuff like that. And their Dexcoms are off and they're usually 30 to 45 minutes behind. Not terribly, but it happens. Is it because you just want someone with you? Do you feel more safe? Do you feel like you can breathe a little bit differently? When you identify that, then you can start looking at, do you have a disability? And the hardest part I see with most service dog handlers is that they don't want to define themselves with a disability. Mm-hmm. They feel like it becomes their personality. And it's just a part it's like a pair of shoes. It's not who you are. It's just the shoes you're wearing right now. That dog can help bring anxiety down. It can help identify things better. So why is that dog there? What is your true intentions? And can you breathe through this? Can you take a big moment and go, it's going to be okay? I would say are my two answers or two suggestions to those.
Good insight. Good insight. I mean, in some instances, there is definitely, if a person wants to continue normal activities, seeing eye dogs, something for something physical they need, it's understandable in instances like that. But a lot of times, as you said before, there's hidden things that people don't see, and they're needed for it. So now it's something you have hidden, and you don't want people to know. And then now, do I want to bring this to the forefront?
And you don't have to disclose, hey, this is my disability. I mean, that's why we have HIPAA, right? But you can say, hey, my dog is trained to be psychiatric. My dog is trained for medical alert. There's ways to disclose that information without being, hey, here's what's wrong with me. And a lot of people don't realize that.
You say it so easily, Blake, because I remember I was asking you earlier, and please say it again, because I always say there's
absolutely
there's two questions that you can't ask a person. Please say them, because I'm always, because I'm trying to be so literal behind it, I'm making it more difficult than what it is. But just say the two questions that are allowed to be asked.
Yeah. So the two questions that any business, any person can ask is your dog trained as a service dog? Yes or no? Simple as that.
Yeah.
And then the second question is, what task is your dog trained to do? Not what's your disability, or show me the task that your dog does. It is, what task is your dog trained to do?
Right.
That's it.
Perfect. I love it. Very simple, straightforward. We need, definitely, that's part of my thought for a service dog or service animal etiquette. Just simple, straightforward. This is what I need to ask and what I need to know in reference to that.
Yep.
That's perfect. Well, Greta, we are.
Well, that's fantastic.
Greta, Greta, we have some folks. If we can recognize, there's folks that chimed in online with us through Facebook. If we can recognize them, that'd be great. Did you see it yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. I start each of them. So first of all, Blake, you have a fan out there. I don't know if it showed up. Heather Wilson, she wanted to say hello. Not to mention, she also made a comment with saying you are amazing with training both the person and the dog. So I'm so glad you had a fan tune in and gave you your kudos. And then also there's a gentleman who chimed in. Let's see. And that's your brother? And he wanted to say hello to everyone. So we definitely, we love to make sure that we acknowledge people who chime in to the shows, because they're the ones who are making it successful for us and helping to spread the word. But I wanted to also share, if people want to learn more about Certify Canine, that they should definitely visit the website with all kinds of great information. And it is certifycanine.com, very easy. And if you want to follow along in Blake's journey, as well as Certify Canine's journey, they're on social media, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to each one of those so that you can stay on top of Blake and her company, Certified Canine. Blake, is there any last minute things you would like to share with everyone?
Thank you for having me on. And there's no silly question in the service dog world. There really isn't. So whether it's a business, whether you're a handler, whether you're a breeder, you're a trainer, ask the questions, because that's the way that not only you'll learn, but also the community will grow too.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Dr. Bryant, is there any last minute things you would like to say to our guests?
I appreciate everyone listening in. I hope you learned a lot, because I sure did. Thank you, Blake, for being here. I want to definitely keep in touch with you and share further things. Again, the idea of service animal etiquette, we need to jump on that and work on something together. I'd love that. And yeah, that'd be great. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining us for another great Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. This is June, and as you know, we have 2 more coming up later on this month, and we hope you tune in then. But for now, you have a great weekend, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.